A good life is a life built around fulfilling work, play, relationships, and lifelong learning. Welcome to Good Life Conversations, where we explore the stories and strategies of inspiring everyday people who are striving to create a life of purpose, meaning, and connection. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Skills to Succeed After High School, a student perspective. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to share this conversation with you. My name is Jay. I am the founder of Discover Year, which is a structured and purposeful gap year program. And today I am joined by three of our amazing graduates from the program, Arielle, Reid, and Josh. So I'll wait no longer and invite each of our wonderful alum to introduce themselves. Reid, let's start with you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reid. I am a Discover Year graduate from the year of 2021. I love spreading positivity everywhere I go. And currently I am at the University of Ottawa taking human resource management.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josh. I'm currently in my last year of computer science at Carleton University. And I also work in the government at CRA as a junior test designer, as well as a DY coordinator for social events. So I work very closely with the kids.
I am Arielle. I am currently a second-year communication student at the University of Ottawa, and I also am working for Discover Year. I get to edit some of their videos and work with some of the students during their days. And I'm very excited to be here on this call today.
Thanks very much to the three of you. And as always, it's wonderful to have prolonged conversation with each of you. And so before we hear from our alum and really get their perspective on what they did, what they undertook during their purposeful gap year, how they've applied that since in their lives, in their academic work, in their paid work, I'll just start by briefly describing the nature of our program, the structure, and the outcomes that we see our students achieving each year. This is our 6th year running the program. And I want to set this up in a way because we believe that the format that we use is very useful and could be even more useful to more students in terms of setting them up for success in their lives after high school, whether that be at post-secondary education, in the working world, in their personal lives, and of course, perhaps all of the above. So just briefly to describe Discover Year, this is a purposeful gap year that invites 17 to 23-year-olds who are uncertain of their next steps in life to join the program to learn more about themselves and the world around them and to build the skills that they need to effectively pursue the things that they care about most in the world. And the way that we help students do this is through 5 basic elements of the program. The first is our purposeful workshops that we hold basically once a week throughout the entire year. We have a full day of learning where the students learn about really important both soft and hard skills, things like resilience, communication skills, financial planning, travel planning, what it means to be successful in the workforce, et cetera, et cetera. We have one day of workshops throughout the year where we come together and students intentionally learn skills and also meet dozens and dozens of really cool, successful, authentic professionals who surround them, both mentors, career advisors, et cetera. So on these days, they learn skills, they relate to one another, and they learn about the working world and the world beyond high school. The second component of the program, which coincides with these workshops, is work terms, where students are invited to go out into the world, find usually paying jobs, not always, but some students prefer to volunteer, but most of our students are working for pay, entry-level type jobs, and this is where they apply all the lessons in communication and resilience and relational skills in the work that they're doing. So they're learning with us, they're applying those things in real time in the workforce. The third component is a travel component where the students have 4 to 6 weeks, usually around February, to travel somewhere in the world, whether that be domestic here in Canada or internationally, wherever they'd like to go. The opportunity for them to go and explore different places, different cultures, and apply, again, some of the things that they've been learning throughout the year. The fourth component of the program is coaching and mentorship. So each student is matched with a personal coach that work with the students throughout the year. So they have meetings twice a month, so the student can explore in a little bit greater depth who they are, what they care about, what they want, what perhaps some of the barriers are preventing them from achieving the things they want right now. So this personalized part of the program is a really important component as well. And the fifth component, but certainly not the least important, is the community service project. And the students are invited to get together in groups based on their interests, their passions, and their values, and they develop projects that they implement by the end of the year. And these are projects that are meant to inspire them and to help them understand the benefits to giving back in their communities, or in some cases in societies that are far away from them. So we have workshops, the students work, they travel, they get a coach that they meet with, as well as many mentors, and they also have a community service project. And based on these 5 components that I've briefly described, what we have learned about our students over the course of the last 5.5 years is that there are 4 outcomes that all of our students experience, at least to some degree, and in most cases, considerable growth in these areas. The first is self-awareness. So better understanding who they are, what they want, what they're good at, perhaps what they're less good at, and how they want to shape their world to derive greater meaning and fulfillment. The second thing that all of our students gain in a significant way is confidence. So the ability to actually pursue the things that they care about in a meaningful way, rather than hesitating or letting the perhaps judgments or influences of society dictate their paths. So they build the confidence to actually pursue the things they care about in a meaningful way. The third outcome is communication skills, and we regularly help the students develop and implement interpersonal communication skills, both in the professional context and the personal context throughout the year, most notably perhaps listening skills. And all of our students come out far ahead in terms of their communication skills. And the last outcome that we've observed is resilience. So the students have a much greater tolerance for uncertainty, an ability to take stock of their surroundings, to understand that while things are difficult, if they persist, if they're able to push through, normally things can get better. And they learn how to build the environment around themselves that will allow them to have the support they need to do so effectively. Self-awareness, confidence, communication skills, and resilience. I'm sure you can all appreciate very useful skills to have in the world at any time, but certainly today. Those are the outcomes that all of our students experience and that they describe back to us when they leave the program. Okay, so I would love to hear from our students around these outcomes. Self-awareness, confidence, communication skills, and resilience. Please tell our viewers what was most impactful or remarkable to you from these 4 outcomes in your lives today after Discovery Year.
Yeah, so for myself, a huge outcome that has greatly impacted my life is better communication skills, both with myself communicating with others and telling other people how I'm feeling, and also with listening to other people and knowing how to communicate with them without them getting upset at me or me trying to problem solve. So for example, about a year ago before the program, anytime my girlfriend would be going through anxiety or whatever, and she wanted to talk about something, every time she would come to me, I would just try to problem solve. And it got to the point where she said, hey, listen, you're not helping me. Like, I'm going to go talk to somebody else, like my friend or whatever. And now after Discovery Year, after learning how to communicate effectively and properly and all that, and learning actually I should listen and not just problem solve, our relationship has been a lot better, and I am able to help her whenever she does go through anxiety or whatever.
Makes me so happy to hear all of the ways that Reid has grown in communication skills. And for me, one of the big things was resilience. I grew a lot, not only in resilience in terms of when I face challenges and my response to that, but also how I am able to put myself in a position that I have the tools that I need to do that. I mean, with COVID, obviously, starting university was very different from how I expected to start university. And with that came a lot of challenges. So a lot of my peers were kind of freaking out about what was going on, the fact that we didn't know it was going to be happening a couple months from now, let alone next semester. And I found myself not really feeling that so much. Of course, I wanted to know, but I definitely noticed that my levels of stress and what was making me freak out was not the uncertainty and those challenges that COVID presented. I was able to take them and know that I would be able to get through them, and that I had the confidence now to just do my best and be okay with just doing my best during those times, instead of needing to know what was going to happen so that I could avoid it or something like that. So I definitely found my resilience in those situations to be so much better than they would have if it had happened to me in high school.
Well, that was very powerful. In the same sense of Reid described his communication improved drastically. And what I found in my personal experience, it was listening the most that helped. And in resilience, the ability to push on for the goal that you think is most right and not what everyone else thinks is better for you is a huge piece of growth for me personally from Discovery Year. But overall, I found that my self-awareness improved and gave me the most clarity after the Discovery Year. And this is most clear in what I was thinking of before doing the program versus what I actually did after. So before the program, I was a huge nerd, and maybe not in the best way, because I love video games so much. Spent so much time playing video games, and I saw my brother was making a lot of video games. So naturally, obviously I'm going to make video games too. When Jay came, pitched the program, I saw that it had the ability to actually find what you wanted to do. And I found that I was really following what I like to do, and my brother was doing already, and it was easier, but finding what I really was calling to me was way more appealing. And after the year, I found that I really love tech more than I love video games. And I love learning about people more than video games. Fast forward 1 year after Discovery Year, and after my first year university in computer science, I looked at the class size of second year, and it was half as much. And in my third year, it was half as much as again. And when I reached out to those same people in the classes that are no longer in my program, they said that they were doing it because their parents told them to do it, or they thought it was cool, but they didn't have the self-awareness to know that's really what they wanted to do. And that really gave me a lot of gratitude to know that I made the right decision after taking 1 year to find out what I wanted to do, and aren't taking the time to try different paths, and instead of having one concentrated year that helped me find my own path.
Awesome. Thank you to the three of you. And it's so much fun for me to sit here and be with you and hear from you and to observe you now, having met each of you, of course, before the Discovery Year. And I want to hear a little bit more about how you all were feeling in high school, because the reason that I founded the Discovery Year in 2016 was because at that point I had met about 12,000 young people in high schools, mostly seniors in high school, grade 10 to grade 12. And I met so many students that over time I was really, really heartbroken by the conversations I had. And it was students who at this time that I remember to be so exciting and enthusiastic and like kind of leaving the nest, and students today, while of course people always had some trepidation, today it almost seemed like an inverse relationship of excitement versus anxiety. Whereas in my day, it felt more exciting, of course, a bit anxious, but most people were excited. Whereas now in schools over these past 10 years, it feels much more like people are overwhelmingly anxious. So that's the kind of foundational reason why we founded the program. And also because I met 500 employers in working at the co-op office at a large university, and all of the employers told me that they were looking for the same types of skills: teamwork, communication, dependability, reliability, creativity, ability to be curious and determined in their work. And it was really enlightening for me not to read this on a paper on some research projects, many of which have come out in the last years, but to really hear it from people who were hiring young people. So the combination of students being overwhelmingly anxious and stressed, and then that combined with all these employers who are stating, hey, these are the things that we need young people to have, and it seems like they're not being trained on these things early enough. So that's why we founded the program, and I would love to hear a bit from each of you. I'm sure people would be interested to know, how were you feeling in grade 12, the year before you did your discovery year, and how does that compare to now? For some of you, a few months out of the program, a couple of years, or for you, Josh, 5 years of the program. Reid, how about you?
Yeah. Oh boy. So in high school, in grade 12, I was extremely overwhelmed about what was going to happen after I was done. And I had no clue what I wanted to go into. In high school, I went all the way from wanting to become a civil engineer to wanting to do computer science to I don't even know. So I had no clue what I wanted to do. And whenever I told my parents that, they were like, that's okay. So I went and saw a career coach, and we talked through it a bit, and she mentioned that business was possibly the right path, but still I wasn't completely sure. And she mentioned that Discovery Year was an option. And I looked into it, and I was like, wow, Discovery Year is exactly what I need. It's a time for me to take a minute, look back, evaluate myself, gain some self-awareness, and see what I do want to do. And after my Discovery Year, going into university, I was so excited to just get in there and start. And I just wanted to go to my classes, meet the people, meet my profs, and just get involved. So just having Discovery Year there really, really helped with eliminating that whole overwhelming feeling.
For me, Reid, you said you were feeling overwhelmed in grade 12. And I would have to say that's one of the best words that I can describe myself back then too. In grade 12, I was overwhelmingly stressed, to the point where I was overcommitted to extracurriculars, work, social life, academics. And there came a point when I just didn't know how to deal with it anymore. I was having mental breakdowns pretty much constantly. And then I was just looking ahead, everyone's applying to university. I want to go to university, but I have no idea how to choose. And I was so scared of just making the wrong choice. I didn't know whether I wanted to go into sciences or the arts or humanities or, and then let alone what school to go to, what specific program. So all of those things just kind of built up to having to quit my part-time job. And my parents actually had to kind of help me just problem solve how to get through my situation, and then eventually figure out that maybe I don't have to go straight to university like I always thought I did. Even though everyone was so confident that I would succeed, maybe I didn't have to just do that right away. And that was a very big moment of realization, and also just taking a big step outside of my comfort zone and saying, okay, maybe I'm going to be that person that takes a gap year. And turned out to be a really great decision.
I think it's great. It's great proof, at least in the moment, to me, that people often ask us who are the right candidates for a structured gap year, or specifically for a discovery year, and that answer is always so difficult because there is no one profile. There are many people that can and do benefit for this from many reasons. And one of the things that people often also ask or tell about, and Reid, I think this relates to your current situation as a student who's a month in to their first semester at university. And people will often say, well, it's one of the myths. If you you take a year off, you're never going to be able to study again. You're going to forget everything you learned. You're going to lose the motivation. So you spoke a little bit earlier to the falsity, the incorrect perception that you won't be motivated to study after a gap year. But I'd love for you to describe to us a little bit, as you did just prior to the call, what's happening for you right now in this difficult first semester of university. How are you navigating that?
Yeah, so it's been a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a lot of work trying to balance the workload and dealing with my mental health and relationships and all that. But then also I found myself comparing myself to others a lot. I have ADHD, so I work a lot slower than others and have a lot slower processing speed. And right now I'm working on a 20-page report, and I've been up for the past 4 nights in a row till 3 in the morning working on it. And I have 5 pages now, and I'm so proud of myself. But then I went and talked to my friend today, and he said in one night he got 7 pages done. And it's kind of like a stab in the heart almost. But now, after talking a bit and realizing it may feel like it's all coming down, but I'm still so excited to continue with this class and continue with school, because now after Discovery Year, I know my goals that I have. I know where I want to be, and I just love the feeling of learning and accomplishing, even just accomplishing, knowing what I can accomplish. Like, even though I have ADHD, and even though I'm really struggling with this project, once I'm done, it's going to feel so good. And then I'll be able to look back and be like, look, you did this. What else can you do? Right?
Thanks, Reid. Yeah, I think it's really interesting to kind of try to guess what life would be like for you right now had you not taken this year. We'll never know. But I think the statistics are indicative of the dropout rates at post-secondary, and as Josh alluded to, this dwindling numbers, certainly year after year in certain programs, largely due to what the collective kind of evidence or science shows, at least from my perspective, is as a significant lack of purpose. So I love the way you describe that sense of purpose and understanding that it's difficult right now, and even sometimes you may feel in the moment that you can't persist, but you do. And I like to think that, at least for me, a part of that comes from the stability and the confidence that you gained through the program, and also observing and interacting with people who have failed in so many different ways, as our students do, right? They interact with all these mentors who have gone many different paths and had difficulties. So interesting to see how that is in you right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'd love to move into now. Thanks for sharing all of that, Reid, and I appreciate your, in the moment, and Josh, to your vulnerability, and I know Arielle has her stories as well. What I'd love to ask you about each of you now, though, is considering the 5 basic components of a Discovery Year: workshops, work terms, travel, coaching, and the community service project. I'd love to hear from each of you, because each of these things can be done outside of a Discovery Year. Of course, they can be done by anybody, anytime, who wants to seek them out. I'd love to hear from each of you, which of these components perhaps was most meaningful, or is there a story attached to one element of the program that you see concretely being useful to you now? What did you take away from one of these elements, and how are you applying it in your lives now? And Arielle, we haven't heard from you in a little while, so I don't know if you'd like to kick it off for us.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say, man, there were so many impactful things about my Discovery Year, but one thing that I've seen is the way that my perspective and mindsets have changed since high school. And a lot of that came from some of the Discovery Year workshops, and specifically the career conversations, when we would just get to talk to mentors who came from all different backgrounds, had totally different life journeys, and were in different fields of work, and just getting to ask them about their journeys and their failures and their successes. So I think for me, just seeing how each person would have things that either they knew where they wanted to go, and for some people it was a direct path, and for most people it was very much not. And sometimes they wouldn't even end up at that place where they thought they would, but they ended up somewhere else. And a lot of the time it was due to different successes and failures in their life. And that hearing those stories impacted me so much, just to know that I don't have to have my life figured out and planned out. And after my first year, I was kind of thinking that maybe I'd want more flexibility in my courses to explore more, because there were so many things I was hearing about in university that I didn't want to limit myself to just communications and sociology. So I ended up switching out of the sociology portion, and now I'm trying out some computer science courses. I've got a linguistics course. I think I'm trying an English elective next semester too. And I'm really excited about those like separate paths that I'm just curious about. And I'm not afraid to limit myself to it, because I know that sometimes you don't have to just go based on what society will tell you is successful. And that's what I learned from a lot of the mentors. So I'm so excited that I learned that from those people.
I also am very excited about that. Thanks, Arielle. Josh, how about you?
Me personally, I found my work period in Discovery Year to be some of the most insightful. And it really came from the fact that all my previous work experience was behind a cashier at Tim Hortons. So my only experience was working part-time really during the school year, and under less than part-time during the summer. And so when I got to Discovery Year and we had the freedom to work anywhere I wanted, I was like, sweet, more money. That sounds good to me. And going to university, I need more money. I then got 2 different jobs, 2 different separate places, and I didn't manage my hours so well. The fact that I felt like I was working way too many hours. So very quickly, within a 2-month period, I felt I saw my friends a lot less, which is like a main source of my happiness. I felt like I was always bogged down, not being able to just like watch a show at night because I had to work the next day, and really feeling that extreme sense of like work is my whole life. And by December, I said, this is too much. And by dropping at one place and starting to work at another, found that a lot of my problems were solved. As in now, even though I have less in my pocket, my mental health is so much better now. I felt a lot happier to be in the program, be around other people, and my mood went up drastically. So for sure, finding that what's really important to me was less about working a minimum wage at 2 different jobs and versus really fully taking in what I'm doing in the present. And also there's a really great lesson, as in working more hours at lower paying jobs is not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life anyways. So that was huge, and realizing I didn't want to be here for very long.
Powerful. Thanks, Josh. I remember it well. I remember our conversations back then. What an excellent lesson to learn when you're 18 versus 38 or 48.
Yeah.
Reid, how about you? What was the component that brought a specific lesson with you that was powerful?
Yeah, for myself, the component that brought like a huge sense of realization was the travel period. I ended up going to Alberta for the month of April and did a bit of a road trip for 2 weeks. And on the road trip, I just kind of decided to, well, through the people we were networking with, travel through the people you meet. And so that's what I did. And I met a few people, and they were absolutely amazing people, funny, crazy, like everything. And anytime they would suggest, because they were all locals, most of them, and anytime they would suggest going to a certain place, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to take the direct highway to get from Waterton to Medicine Hat. I'm going to go up to Lethbridge, down to Writing on Stone Provincial Park, and then back up. So like take the whole weird, crazy, extra long path. But those are the parts of my trip that I remember. And it's kind of the same thing in life. It's like, you shouldn't expect to get from point A to point B directly. And enjoy the journey to get there. And that's kind of what I learned. And after getting back and talking to my peers and talking it over a bit, I was like, yeah, you know what? That is what I learned. And so it was a wonderful experience. And yeah.
Thanks. Thanks to all three of you. And what I think is what culminates here for me is what I've observed in the program over 6 years is the differentiation between somebody reading something, about this journey, right? Because we've all heard this, it's not the destination, it's the journey. And we all hear that continuously. And what I found is that seeing our students live these lessons themselves was so powerful for them. And that's why our program is made in the way it is, where we have opportunities for learning, application, reflection, and also really exploring these things and learning them experientially. So I'm so thrilled to have all three of you here today. And I just want to let people know too that I want to specifically say that the nature of our program has been put together in a way that we think is most useful to young people, but independently, each of these elements can be done, of course, at different times throughout life, and they can be done on their own, or people can put together their own version of Discover Year, which we encourage a lot of people to do if our program is not right for them. So I hope that people are taking that away. And if you'd like more information on Discover Year, we're always looking to grow our community and to meet like-minded people. We'll share the website on the screen here, and we do have information sessions where you can come in and meet more of our students and our staff. So please feel free to join those if you'd like. Thank you to the three of you. It's always such a pleasure for me to interact with both, of course, our current students, but especially our alumni, seeing how you've progressed, the challenges you're going through, how you're confronting them, how you're evolving. And thank you to all that are tuning in. We appreciate your time, and thank you for spending it with us. That's all for now. We look forward to seeing you again.